All right, and we're live. Hi, everybody. This is Jackie, and I'm here with our guest, Robyn, today. And hey, Robyn, you can say hi.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Yeah. So Robyn, I found a long time ago just on Instagram. I loved her work. Her work is just so unbelievable. And as I've been following everything you're doing, Robyn, I'm just more and more impressed.
Aww.
So Robyn does something that I am terrified to do. Never even try. Don't ever try to teach it. People ask to do people like portrait spaces. I always say no. So we thought it was important to do a workshop where Robyn would help us help teach portrait painting and also a little bit of color theory and how to mix skin tone. So that both things are not my expertise. And so I am always the first to say when I'm not good at something. And so that's what we had to bring in an expert like Robyn. So Robyn, before we get into so for those who don't know, we are doing a workshop with Robyn. We're doing a workshop with Robyn on May 27th, which is a week from today. And I wanted to just, before we dive into that, I wanted you to give a little background about who you are, what you do, how you kind of got to where you are as an artist.
Yeah, sure. I have always been like in my head an artist since I was a little kid. You know, before I knew what an artist really was, I just, like most kids, were really interested in coloring, drawing, and then it just stayed with me. So, you know, I through middle school, high school, was always taking art classes, and then decided to go to art school, Syracuse. And when I graduated, I went, after a few years, I went back and got a master's in education. So I was teaching art for a while. I've taught art for 12 years now. Say that out loud. So, and then while teaching, I've always continued my own art practice, painting, and entering in shows, you know, and just kind of working on my portfolio. And then right before the pandemic, I decided that I was going to quit teaching the way I was teaching. So not in the public school right now, and focus on my work. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Tell them where you were the last 2 weeks, because I've been following.
Oh, yes, I was in North Adams at Mass MoCA. They have an artist residency there. So I was there for 2 weeks, had a gorgeous studio, and just got to like paint all day, work on some things.
Yes. Did you get to choose what you painted, or like how did that work?
Yeah, I get to choose what I wanted to do, what I wanted to focus on. And it was nice because I think I counted, I think I got 7 paintings done in those 2 weeks.
You're very prolific. I think that's the
word. And wouldn't have been able to do that here because I have 2 little ones running around. I made them go outside. I said, go outside, so mommy can.
They're so cute. If they come in, don't worry about it.
Thank you.
They're the cutest, and our followers know I've got 2 here also, and they make their appearance too. I luckily got one right down for a nap before. Okay, how did you get into portraiture? Because that is so scary to me. My sister actually is really into portraiture, very different style than yours. And she her favorite are like faces that have like a lot of folds in that. Like, you know, she has a real, I could spot a
character in them.
That's what wants to paint, and she's just like bright colors. So everyone has different styles and how they approach portraiture. But I would love to know from you how, as an artist, you wanted to do that. It's so hard.
So I think I've always liked to draw people. I think faces are interesting. But then I really got into it. It's actually kind of funny. I was watching this British show, and it's called Portrait Artist of the Year. A landscape one too. And I was just intrigued at these artists. They would go and it's like a little competition. You go and paint the same person, and then there were judges there, and like I got really into it. And they had to paint them in 4 hours, and I just was like, I wonder if I could paint a portrait, you know, in that short amount of time. So I just like started doing self-portraits and painting. Friends asking people like, hey, you want to come over for dinner and I can paint you, you know? Because it's hard to get models, you know, to
Yeah.
fit for you. Because I do like to paint from life,
Hmm.
but you know that's not always a possibility. And especially with the pandemic, it's like out the window.
Right.
So I'll like sometimes if I have someone come over, they'll sit for a little bit and then I'll take a photograph of them and finish it. But yeah, that's how I kind of got into it. And then I just been practicing and doing it so much. You get better. You know, the first one was not so good.
Hmm.
It's definitely a skill that you, just like anything else, you do it more, you get better at it.
Yeah, it's kind of a challenge, and every person's different.
Mhm.
And so I guess was portraiture like more recent? Like, have you been doing this? Have you always been to portraiture, or it's a more recent?
No, I would say over the past maybe 4 years,
Hmm.
focus more on portraiture.
Yep. And how do you feel about like adults versus kids? Does that make a difference to you?
It, no, I love painting. Well, I love painting my kids. But yeah, I love painting. You know, it's funny because the proportions of the face of a baby, toddler, child, it's different. It's very, very different. So when I was at the residency, we went to the Clark Museum, which is
Hmm.
a museum in North Adams, and they had some like really old, much older paintings, religious paintings, like pre-Renaissance, and they always have like the Madonna and Child, and the babies always look weird.
That's so true. Their noses are like tiny.
Yeah, and it's because they made them like little mini adults. So they didn't change the proportions to go with a baby. So they look like a little off. You're like, some of them are better than others, and some you're like, oh,
That is so true. I've never really thought about it, but you're right. They always look creepy and weird.
yeah, that's why they look creepy, because of the proportions.
Okay, so we decided we're going to do this workshop, and I think our artists are not used to this type of painting at all. They're used to like a step-by-step how to paint a tree. And in this class, this workshop, first of all, I'm not teaching it. I'm just watching, observing, supporting. Maybe I'll even do one myself. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you should.
I should, right? I'll see which kid wants to model for me. But so we're not doing step by step. So I want to make that really clear. Like, I've been showing all of your work. Your work is so gorgeous. We're not learning how to do your work. We're teaching people how to paint a portrait and how to break down a face and how to do color tones and mix colors. So why don't you tell a little bit more about what you have in mind for the workshop?
So I'm worked it so that people who have, never ever painted a face will not feel overwhelmed. And then people who maybe have done a little bit of portraiture before, hopefully they can come away with some new ideas or things to try. So I'm going to go over proportions of the face, and some kind of formulaic ways of drawing a face, which is important when you first start drawing faces. They might look a little generic because you're learning, like, okay, this is where the eyes go. This is the general shape of the eyes. Like, this is where the nose goes, the mouth. And like all of those things, if you practice it, then when you're looking at a person in front of you, or if you're painting from a photograph, it's very, very helpful to measure and make sure things look accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to kind of show you how I would break down a portrait. And if people want to kind of follow along and copy me, that is an option. But you can also, just take what I'm doing and then translate that to your own work, like a portrait of your child or of yourself. Even you could do a portrait, right? Self-portraits are really fun to do because no one knows you like you know yourself, right? So a lot of times things come up in your self-portrait and you're like, oh, that's interesting. That's like how you see yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like to do at least one a year and kind of see the evolution.
Great idea. I should challenge myself. The last time I did
Yeah, even before you asking, you know, when did I get into portraits? Even before I really got into it, I did at least one portrait a year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, no, I did one that's still in my mom's house. It was supposed to be a self-portrait in the style of an artist. And so I went with the artist Cezanne, who's the one who made like a lot of, I don't know if we were told it has to be in like Cezanne or if it was my own. I feel like I was probably told because he's not the coolest person in the world, but he made like still lives of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I look very serious. I look very troubled. Like I also did another one in high school where I was like pulling bars apart and had my curls come. It just like really, all my self-portraits seem very dark and dramatic, which I wouldn't say that I am, but maybe that's like an insight.
Well, you made them in high school, you said?
One was high school, one was college, but I have not done a self-portrait.
Everyone is dramatic in high school.
Well, that's true. That's definitely.
My angsty. This is my angsty self-portrait.
It makes sense. Okay, so tell us. So you're doing it in a certain style, which I linked to in the supply list. Which, if you if you sign up for our workshop, which is on a week from today, May 27th, we are starting promptly at 7, but we say to sign in at 6:30, so you can kind of get everything set up before we start. I forget the name. It starts with an A. What is the style? The color palette.
The color. Well, yeah. I'm having so. I like to paint using different palettes. Like sometimes I'll do a split primary. But
tell our viewers, what does that mean? What's a split primary?
So primary colors are red, blue, and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So a split primary is when you use red, blue, and yellow, but you use a warm red, a cool red, a warm blue. So it's like using, instead of 3, you're using 6 colors plus white. So that's what I usually use for, like, let's see if I have an example, for still lives or landscapes sometimes. So the other palette that I use for portraits, and I only use it for portraits, is the Zorn Palette.
Zorn, that's it.
Yeah.
In my head, it was Adorn, but that's not
close. Zorn was an artist, and I don't ask me the year. I don't remember, but he was an artist who painted using this particular palette, and it's based on the kind of concept of the primary palette, because primary colors, you can make any color in the world using primaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Zorn palette is like a muted version of the primary colors. So you're using yellow ochre as your yellow, Mars black as your blue, because it's a very, very cool black. So if you mix white into it, it gets a little blue. If you mix the red into it, it actually will get a little bit purpley. And then the other color, cadmium red, light hue. And that's like it's red, but it's very red orange. And those colors are already neutralized, so they're grayed down a little bit, and they already will, with mixing those, you will get more of a neutral colors, which are skin colors, right? All of the colors on our face are browns, tan, beige, cream, with other little hints of colors kind of reflected. But yeah, that's my favorite palette to use right now. I've used others, but currently that's the one that I'm like.
This is a question random, because as an artist, like when I look at like trees, I'll see different greens or grass. Yeah. When you look at faces, do you see different, like how you would mix each person's face color? I know that's weird.
Yes, I do. So it's the same exact thing. So if you are someone who looks at a still life or a landscape, and you see all these different colors, like in the green tree, the greens that are far away, they look very blue, and then the ones closer to you have more warm color to them, maybe a little red mixed in. So it's the same thing with the face.
Yeah.
Like noses tend to be more red.
Mm-hmm.
Ears tend to be more red, so you put a little more cadmium in there. And then, shadows can be warm or cool. So like right now, looking at you, under your neck is a very cool shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, put some blue into that to make it cooler. So it's really recognizing color temperature, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, but then even dealing with shadow with different skin tones, different skin color. I mean, people who are signing up are going to be all different skin tones. So, do you use the same colors in different amounts of each color? Do you use totally different colors?
Everyone is very different. So, and even if you're the same value, like, so, someone who is the same darkness as my skin color, I still might have to use, or probably would have to use, a different mix, right? So you have undertones. Someone might have more a yellow undertone or be more red. So yeah, it's really like it's not like, oh, you always use this formula to mix this color.
Right.
You have to practice like being able to see the colors of the faces that are in front of you.
Well, I also think this is really interesting and important because in our classes, we're often mixing for flowers and greenery, like more common color mixing. Mixing for skin tone is a whole other ballgame. And also like mixing the color brown is something that is so important to understand and know. Whatever color your skin is, it's some form of like a light beige or a dark brown. And so just understanding that. And also we have now sell kits that we use with our painting, and we don't include brown anymore. So people are learning how to make brown, and it's so fun to teach because you're actually like learning something now. You're learning. That's another reason.
Yeah, mixing those complementary colors.
Yeah.
Get your browns and your grays. Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of that.
Really, really red, or if your brown is really, really green, how do you balance it out? So that's something else.
Yeah.
Out in your workshop.
Yeah, definitely. That's that's definitely what I'm going to be going over. And then it's just interesting that those three colors, well, plus also white, right? So it's the three colors, and I like to use zinc white because it's more translucent. So it doesn't, and it takes a lot of white to change the color. So, if you use titanium, you put the white in, and it like a little bit goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
This color, and it kind of changes it a little bit. The zinc white, it keeps the colors more, I don't know, true to what they are, just lightening them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that just those colors will make any skin tone in the world. Like,
right.
We're all made up of the same colors.
I love that. Okay, now if people wanted to do your class, but they don't, so we provided a supply list. So Robyn told us colors that she recommends and different materials. If people just want to do your class, but they don't want to buy those exact colors, could they use titanium white, which is a color that, like, if you buy our art kit, could they
use, that's just my preference, but you can definitely use titanium. You can also not use the Zorn palette. You can use primary colors to do the same thing.
Yeah.
The only difference is this is like cutting out the middleman, kind of like you're do a lot less mixing if you start with like a Zorn palette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So all you people out there, and I myself included, I'm totally scared of doing portraits.
Don't be scared.
No, if this is just like a starting point for you and you just want to dive in a little bit, this seems like the perfect place to start. So Robyn understands where you guys are. Robyn knows many of our customers have never picked up a paintbrush. Robyn, can they still do this class if they've never picked up a pencil or paintbrush?
Yes, you can still do the class. You can still get something out of it, definitely.
Yes.
So I encourage everyone, no matter what level you are at, to sign up. So I'm gonna make sure that I have something in there for everybody.
Yes, she'll be so great. She's so patient, so sweet. The first time we talked, I think we're on like 2 hours.
Yeah.
We're gonna not talk for the whole studio. We're painting.
Yeah, we'll try not to chit chat the whole time.
But when we choose our artists, we really like to work with really sweet, wonderful, patient people. Robyn is that person. And,
you know,
so if you are, whether you're watching this live or the replay, I'd love to see comments on how you feel about portrait painting. If this is something you're excited about, whether you take the class or not, what's your experience with it? Some people, like people who do portraits, are really into portraits, like love portraits. And then those who do not, like myself, are scared. So,
I think if you try it, you might enjoy it.
well, I haven't tried it since college, so it might be a good idea to start it again because that was just a few years ago.
Just dip your toe in a little bit.
Perfect. All right. So to sign up for this class, if you go to the paint bar, so here's first of all how you can find Robyn. So this is her Instagram account, how you can kind of be updated with everything she's working on. And then it's a longer banner to put on here for how to sign up. But if you go to I just realized there's paint like on my boob. If you go
I always have paint on me somewhere.
Everywhere. If you go to thepaintbar.com and just go to our virtual calendar, just press calendar. It's like a big purple button. You'll see all of our upcoming events and Robyn's classes on there. And it's a great class. We encourage you to be there. I'll be there too. It's next week, 1 week from today. And we'd love to see you there. All right. So anything else, Robyn, you want to leave these people with?
No, just keep painting and remember that it's like anything else. It's a skill that you when you practice it, you'll get better.
Yeah.
I think people think it's like this magical thing, like, oh, you're either talented or you're not, and people are born artists, and it's not the case. It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
You love it and you keep working at it, you'll get better.
Wow, that's a good point. Because I always say that like my whole family is made up of artists, but I don't actually think it's because we're more talented. It's just because we were bred by artists. Like art is, everyone does it. And so it's acceptable and it's encouraged and
we practice it.
Yeah. Right. Never. Yeah. It's like now. So we always have this conversation. Are you born with it or is it a skill that you pick up and you practice? Like
people sometimes are born with, either a love for it or a little talent, and then they nurture that and grow from there. But sometimes people don't pick up painting or any playing a musical instrument, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're much older, but then they fall in love with it and they work at it. So I think it can be a combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to take up more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We'll see you on Thursday night, and hopefully we'll see those of you watching there with us. Okay, so you sign up at thepaintbar.com. Check out Robyn's work, and that's it for today. All right, everyone, enjoy this wonderful weather. I hope it's nice wherever you're watching. So talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Take care, everyone.